Hello, Texans. The forecast for the weekend is smooth, warm, and good fishing. And the barometer is steady, so get the rods, reels, and boat ready. And our guides are standing by to get you headed in the right direction because it's time to go fishing here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Thanks for tuning in here to join us at the Texas Insider Fishing Report. I'm Jamie Estrada, filling in for Brie Gabrielle. And of course, you know the guy right next to me, the one and only Captain Rick Murphy.
How are you?
I'm very good, Rick. Hey, thanks so much for allowing me to join for the first time ever right here on All Things Fishing in Texas. So we are coming to you hot off the press. What do we got this week?
Well, you know, Jamie, thank you so much for filling in for
You're
Brie.
welcome.
We're really lucky to have you. And, you know, I know that you have the passion for fishing just like Brie does. And, you know, we got a couple really cool pictures of you catching a few fish locally here.
Yeah.
Nice, beautiful red grouper. We also have a beautiful sailfish, so you have some offshore talent. And
That's
then
right.
I'm really impressed that you're grabbing the shark. Good for you.
That was challenging, not gonna lie.
So, you know, another thing that you have in common with our lovely Brie is in 1998, you were in the Miss Florida pageant, and you know what? You were successful and actually took home the crown. So, and you were Miss Florida just like Brie was in 2016. So, realistically, we're the lucky ones.
Well, I appreciate that very much. And you know, I have to comment on the fact that you said I was a really good angler earlier.
Absolutely.
You need to tell my husband that because I don't think he knows as well. It's one of the best kept secrets around.
Hubby, she's badass, so you just gotta take her fishing.
I'll give you your $1 later.
All right.
Well, you know someone else who has a very well kept secret about fishing, of course. It's our own Dave Ferrell at the CCA workbench. How's it going,
I'm not
Dave?
going to tell it. I'm still not going to tell that secret. That well-kept secret's going to stay that way, even though I broadcast them every day.
Every day. Well, we
all over the
appreciate
place.
it. Well, let's get started in our Garmin Lower Coast region, and Captain Chad Kinney is going to tell us all about the hot drum action around Random Island and a solid weekend offshore. Take it away, Chad.
Tell you what, weather's been kind of windy, difficult, but the conditions are looking really, really great coming up, so the offshore action will be getting, and it'll increase the bay fishing also. Spoke with Doug Stanford out of Pirates of the Bay Charters. They're up in Port Aransas, Corpus Christi area. He said schools of black drum, they're really good around Ransom Island, and use live or dead shrimp, of course, work really good, but he also tipped me on something. Normally I just use, peeled off dead shrimp for these fish, but he's actually attaching the fish bites along with the shrimp on it, and the reason is they'll hold on better and you get several strikes and reuse it more. So he likes really using those green, pink crab flavor ends, and that's what's working best for him. Also, he said on the north end of the Oasis Bay, been holding drum, also using the live shrimp and the fish bites up in there. When you get these heavier windy conditions, to get protected waters back there, ends up having a lot better. You get that really high chocolate water when the wind's blowing 30 or 40. You get a lot of that area blown out where you can't normally fish. So something's a good idea is when the weather gets non-productive like that, get back there and have some good fishing. So he's got a good picture here of some drum with his clients. You can see he just loaded up on a limited drum. And when you get these situations like this, that's the best thing to go for on that. Moving on over to some trout and stuff like that. There's been some good trout set up in the Oasis Bay also. Live shrimp, popping cork. Also, live croakers working really well around Berry Island and Ingleside Cove. Free line these with 24-inch leader, 5-aught tail hook. Also, on the incoming tide, he said there's been some really good trout on Lydia and Lighthouse. Throw those croaker real early in the morning, he said early, free lining, and you're getting some better fish over there. That's where they're hitting there. There's also been a school of tarpon, pretty good. He said up shallow around the Lydia and shallow. He said look behind the barges on the St. Joe Island side right there. Good school of tarpon there, so you want to hit those. Go ahead and throw some mirror lures at them or bump some live mullet and stuff like that on the Carolina rig. We're good for them on there. Moving on to offshore, like I said, conditions have been difficult, but the forecast looks the best. I've seen it all year long. It's coming up. There's a bunch of stuff coming in from Mexico, good blue waters. It's been a bunch of snappers still out there in federal waters and state waters. And then with the water clarity getting better, try jigging in the middle of the water column around your favorite rigs or structure, nets and stuff like that, anything else like that. Take some bait also along with jigs, menhaden, squid, cigar minnows, anything you get fresh is better. And also recommend when you're using these on your main line, you got 30, 40 pound or your braid tied to it, but on your leader, use 150 pound mono on this and get a longer leader. The reason is the 150 is not going to cut your hands up, and you can get a wrap on it and let the snap over the side, and works out quite a bit better than using the other situations, 50, 80 pounds, stuff like that will end up cutting your hands up and stuff like that. And also, when the weather conditions, like this, we've had a little bit, like it's going to be great this weekend. I think next week we'll hear a whole lot of reports on tuna, dorado, wahoo, billfish, all that stuff like that. But when the weather does get down like that, best thing to do, what I do, get your Yamaha engines, get them oil change, filter change, everything else lower in, detail the boat with your Starbright products, get all your terminal tackle ready, get your favorite spread ready. I always at least have 2 Islanders in the mix there. When the weather breaks, then you're good for fishing. You don't have to worry about anything like that. You'll be prepared. Like I said, the wahoo have been really steady out there, and there's been some dorado showing up. If you find a weed line, any floating debris, definitely put out a smaller Islander and put a smaller ballyhoo to a medium ballyhoo on there on some lighter tackle. Hit your Akuma 20, 25 wide. Works really excellent and stuff like this. The dolphin can jump off a gaff real easy. So can the wahoo. So when you get those smaller fish on the 15, 20 pound range, get like a 2-inch gaff. Get some bigger fish, get a 4-inch gaff. But when you hit those fish, do one fluid motion, stick them, go straight into that big old Yeti. I got a 350 Tundra, and we go straight in there. One guy's open the cooler, one guy goes into the cooler. Boom, it's closed. Everybody's safe up and everything, and you can continue and keep on catching fish.
So you have a photo of a dorado here, bub?
Yeah, I believe. We got a dorado there. Got about 15, 20 pound dorado there. They're just caught recently, and there's gonna be a bunch bigger ones showing up here pretty soon.
All right, well, good luck fishing this weekend. Can't wait to hear next week's report. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the lower coast hotspots. He says inshore out of Port Aransas, there's been schools of black drum around Ransom Island, north end of Nueces Bay. Has good water clarity and is holding trout and drum. And then offshore, snapper fishing remains excellent out of the lower coast port. The blue water is moving in from Mexico out of the south, which is going to bring more pelagic species, Jamie.
Ooh, offshore, man. That's
Yeah,
my
man.
jam. I love it. Let's see what's turning up the heat in the Project Smokehouse Lower Fresh region in Fayette County and Falcon Lake. Mac Reed, is it still all about that bass?
It's all about the bass. That's what I spend most of my time doing. Sure, I love to chase the saltwater fish when I get a chance, but let's get started talking about the largemouth bass in that lower region. I thank Brian Cotter for these reports out of the Austin area. I'm going to with Texas Hogs Guide Service. We'll start out on Fayette County. The fishing is really exceptional there right now. Early, you can catch a ton of fish on square bills, rattling baits around the shallow grass. Later, they're moving out into that deeper water on the ledges on the main lake and around the rocks on the dam and the outlet there at the plant, using shaky heads with trick worms on it or deep diving crankbaits. Shad patterns have been the best. When you find a school of them out there on those ledges, you may catch them 10 or 15 casts in a row and they may quit. Move down a little bit, look for them with your electronics. They're still there, but they may move up and down that ledge following the bait fish, so you need to find them after you catch them, and you'll catch quite a few in a row. Let's move over to Lake Travis in the Austin area. It's fishing good for numbers right now. The bigger ones are a little difficult, but don't be afraid to throw a top water walking bait all day long for maybe catching a big fish. But the shaky head to the Texas rig plastics in the watermelon shades has been what's turning out the numbers of bites all day long. Steelhouse Hollow Lake is fishing fairly well right now. Use a deep crankbait or drag a Carolina rig around the grass. That's the way you're catching most of your fish. Also, keep your eye open all day long because they're schooling on the surface occasionally. When they blow up, get you a small swim bait or a clear topwater, and just have a ball while they're super active. You can catch a bunch. Mike Bates sent me a report from Choke Canyon, south of San Antonio. It's just falling into that summer pattern. Not a lot has changed since last week. It's just kind of like the weather. It's going to be hot. He's caught bass up to 8 pounds lately. Most of them are coming around the hydrilla. There's some schooling activity, of the smaller fish on the inside and the outside edge of that grass. It can happen anytime during the day. If they surface, get you a rattle bait or a popper, and get after them and catch those fish while they're super active. The best way to catch a big fish is to get you an ounce or ounce and a half weight on a Texas rig soft plastic and punch it through the thick hydrilla mats. The hydrilla is topped out. You'll need the best is going to be the deepest clumps you can find. So don't avoid that thick grass. You want to drop that big weight right through the middle of it on braided line, and that's a great way to catch the biggest fish around. I've actually got a second report from Fayette County from Greg Boyd with Angler's Angle Guide Service, and it's very similar to the first. The difference is he's getting his best bite in the afternoon. He says most of them are being caught in the afternoon because we're finally getting away from the full moon cycle, which makes them bite a little later. Look for those fish between 8 and 15 foot of water. Throw a drop shot at them with a trick worm or a Cinco style bait on it. Green pumpkin colors have been the best. Also, when you find some of them after they get tired of biting soft plastic, pick up a deep diving crankbait, and you catch a few more out of those schools.
All right.
That's what we got for bass this week.
You did well, son. You did good. All right, well, let's go ahead and go on into your report. Tell me about those kitty cats.
Falcon Lake, Ram Reds with Texas Kings outdoors. The water's warming up and it's going down. The big blues are biting at night, late at night on the edge of the deep holes with cut carp and big shad. During the day, you can catch the blues and channel cat on a slip fork rig, on shad and shrimp in the shallower water. That picture's around with a big old blue cat from the other night.
Dang, wow. That is a big one. Hug a fish, I love it. All right, well, tell me about some alligator gar, Pop.
Alligator gar is kind of an unusual thing to talk about, but down at Falcon, it's amazing how many of them there are, and they're giants. The gar are all over the lake right now, but they're thicker in the back of the creeks. Get a big gizzard shad, a tilapia, or a big piece of cut carp, put it under a big float, and it's amazing the size of the fish that Ram is catching right now. That's what you want to do, but you have to let him have time to swallow it to get a good hook set.
All right, thank you so much for the. Tell us about this photo here, Matt. Sorry.
That's a giant that Ram and them caught on a recent trip down there, and that's kind of what you can expect.
I love the variety that you gave us this week and the good pictures. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the lower fresh hot spots. Matt says that we're going to go largemouth bass fishing. Fayette County is on fire. Early, they are biting Texas rig worms and crankbaits around the shallow grass, and then later in the main lake structures is the deal. Carolina rig soft plastics, football jigs, and deep diving crankbaits are the ticket in 15 to 20 feet of water. Bass fishing in 20 feet of water. Whoa.
I love it. I love it. Now, when we come back, we are cruising on over to the Upper Coast region, and we have to see what's popping with Dave Ferrell on the CCA workbench for the latest in rigs and techniques. So what do you have for us, Dave?
Well, we're going to be talking about big alligator gar, and I'm just going to repeat everything that last fella just said. He's ruining my day, man.
Hey, it's all right.
We got some stuff he didn't go over. We got some stuff.
That's good. All right, well, stick around.
I know he's an alligator gar expert from down way back.
We'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Garmin, join the club. Sportsman's Adventures, fishing for adventure. And CCA Texas, a leader in marine conservation.
Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 offshore 4-strokes. For those that like their V6 lighter, faster, and stronger. Setting new standards for power, efficiency, speed, and lightweight. Built for the rigors of offshore boating. Packed with Yamaha's legendary reliability. And now Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 4-strokes offer a choice between digital or mechanical controls to match your rigging preference. Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
If you're not a member of Coastal Conservation Association, you need to be. CCA fights on a national and state level for our fishing rights so that our children and grandchildren will have fish to catch today and in the future. CCA, through their habitat programs, create oyster and artificial reefs, as well as many other habitat programs. CCA also each year releases millions of trout, redfish, and flounder, so join myself, Brie, and Dave and become a member of CCA now. So we're here at the CCA workbench, and Dave, you know, Matt gave away some of your secrets, but
well, you know, they're not my secrets actually, because you know, I see alligator gars a lot, but I don't catch a whole lot of them. I got most of my secrets from a fellow named Dawson Hefner, who's a guide on the Trinity River, and he has a TexasMegaFishing.com is his website. So if you want to find out all the stuff I'm talking about, go over there and check him out. He's catching giant ones right now. This is the season, you know, in the summertime, you know, when the bass and fish gets real hot for the bass, you can always go out and catch you an alligator gar, because they're out there, they're eating right now. If they have a good spawning year, which these fish only spawn during flood times. So if it doesn't flood for a couple of years, they don't spawn for a couple of years. So that's why you can only keep one of them. Texas does a really good job of managing their garfish, and they're one of the last really good places to go fishing for them. Louisiana, you can probably catch them, but Texas is probably the best. And you know, Florida used to have some, but a lot of the bow hunters got them all, and our waters were too clear, and they could just get slaughtered. And it's a little harder in Texas. The water's a little dirtier, so a lot of them live. And not only that, they take care of them. The alligator gar is a prehistoric fish. He's got these diamond-shaped scales on him that are serrated, and he's like an armor tank. He's hard. He's a very hard fish, and he's got a giant wide mouth. He's called an alligator gar because his mouth looks like an alligator. You know, it's snub-nosed. Like most gars have a long snout with a lot of teeth. You'll know right away when you catch the alligator gar. It's a round, flat, just like an alligator, and he's got teeth all inside, and he's got 2 rows of teeth on the upper jaw. And he's a voracious ambush predator. You know, mainly eats fish, but and mostly forage fish. You know, he will eat a game fish, you know, if he gets a chance, but most of the time they're eating forage fish like gizzard shads and carps and whatnot. But they're just, you know, they get really big. They get up to 300 pounds, 8.5 feet. I think 279 pounds is the Texas record set back in 1951.
So what are we going to use?
Well, you're going to use a wire leader. You want to have a 3-foot wire leader, and most of the fellas use a treble hook. Their mouths are really hard, so it's hard to get a hook in their mouth. So they'll use a big treble hook. Number 3, I think this is a number 2. That should be big enough, as long as it's a 4X. You know, something that's going to hold the drag that you're going to be wanting to put on these fish. They use a 130-pound test braided line on a big spinning reel. They usually like to use a bait runner type of spinning reel, because just like all gar, when they grab something, they'll swim off with it for a little while before they'll swallow it. They'll keep chewing on it and chewing on it. That's what all those teeth are for, to grab things and hold on to them. And they don't want to let them go and have to catch them again, so they'll keep chewing on something. A good rule of thumb is if it's swimming off and it stops, once it swims a little ways, you know, 20, 30 seconds, swimming, and it stops, and that's usually about the time you want to go ahead and set up on him and see if you can get a hook in him.
Like you do the mangrove snapper.
Correct. Now, the best places to fish for these are, you know, in the Trinity River, some of these deep bends. The bends in the river are the best places where there's a nice sandbar. He likes to put that like a half a carp he'll use, or 3/4 of a carp, depending on the size of the fish that are in the area, and he'll throw that in there and put it down anywhere between 4 and 15 feet deep. Put it right on the bottom. Sometimes he'll put a nice a nice bobber on the top, just to keep an idea of where his bait is. Sometimes they'll use a balloon. But that's what they'll use. It's pretty simple fishing, you know. The only really different thing is you have to have that metal leaguer. and a good 60-pound metal leader. I made these actually out of Surflon, plastic coated, and you can say just put a little lighter, twisted them up and put a lighter on them, and that's 100%. Very, very good. And you can build these as long as you want, 5, 6 feet, whatever.
Nice.
Because they'll roll on you.
Right.
They like to roll up in it.
And with those scales, I imagine they could cut the standard mono.
Correct.
All right, well, it's time to go to another region. I hate leaving the bench, but I got Jamie over there waiting for me, so I gotta go.
I guess so.
Where we going, Jamie?
Well, that's okay, guys. Thanks a lot for those awesome tips on those alligator gars. But if you love the open water like I do, and you want to know what's biting this weekend around San Jacinto Bay and Burnett Bay, Captain Carl Weston is going to give us the 411 in the Fish Bites Upper Coast region. So take it away, Carl.
Thank you, guys. Hey, we're going to talk about some redfish today. And, redfish can most times be found along the rock walls upstream on the San Jacinto River watershed in the upper Galveston Bay complex. This area includes the San Jacinto Bay, Scotts Bay, Crystal Bay, and Burnett Bay. This ship channel and the numerous barge channels there keep the tide moving up in that whole area. And the deepness of those channels makes the fishing very good. This allows these fish to slide off into the deep water and then back up on the spoils to feed. These redfish love to use these rock walls up there to ambush bait. So fishing parallel to the rocks with spinner baits is hard to beat right now. But sometimes you might want to try a MirrOlure marshmallow rigged on a light jig head. Working a little slower, just watch out for the rocks over there. And we got a picture of Christy with a little redfish here today.
Nice. All right. What else you got for me inshore, bub?
Well, we'll move over to trout. The trout are really moving into deep water in East Bay. They've been up on the reefs for a couple weeks now, and the fishing has been good out there. It's just hard to fish the middle of the bay when the wind's blowing 30 miles an hour. Our way to stay out of that wind right now is either wade fish or working the birds. There's been a lot of shrimp pouring out of the marshes lately, staging up the fish in these little ponds. And you'll see the birds hovering over the school of fish chasing the shrimp. All of East Bay has good bird activity working over it for a while. And most of the flocks have been between Marsh Point and Frenchie's Reef. So soft plastics like a MirrOlure Little John seems to work best on the hookup ratios right now when they're eating those small shrimp. Colors like pink or glow chartreuse seem to get more strikes. But when they're doing this deal under the birds, it really doesn't matter. And we have a little Samantha with a little trout right there from the other day.
Oh, looks like the girls are ruling again this week. All right, man. What about some offshore? Carl, that's where you like to do your damage. Tell me about it.
Well, let's talk about yellowfin. Luckily, the yellowfin bite has been pretty solid at the floaters for the past month. Now, with the high winds for the past week, it's not a given that those fish are still there. But this weather window coming this weekend will tell the story. If the scattered weeds around the floaters and the bait balls are still there, the tuna will be there waiting for us. Chunkin will still be the best bet for both yellow and blackfin. If you see these fish blowing up on top, try throwing a popper or a large swim bait. And lately the fish have been averaging, yellowfin's been running 30 to 75 pound range, and the blackfin have been in the 5 to 10 pound range. So, and here's a picture of Bud with a yellowfin from about a week ago.
All right, nice. All right, one more to go. What you got, Carl?
Well, wahoo. Believe it or not, we still have a pretty good wahoo bite here in Texas. Usually by this time of year with the warm weather, it has slowed down. But anglers are still picking up fish while trolling for kingfish and dorado along weed lines and current breaks. We are also picking up a few fish drifting structure with live and dead baits. So try to keep an artificial bait tied with a wire leader handy, and also a live bait rig with wire leader, because these fish have some pretty sharp teeth, and mono just not going to hold up. And there's a deck full of wahoo right there with a picture.
All right. Well, thank you for all the pictures this week. I appreciate all your hard work, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at the MirrOlure hot spots from the Upper Coast region. He says inshore redfish on the rock walls in San Jacinto Bay, I don't know if I said that right, Scotts Bay, Crystal Bay, Burnett Bay with spinner baits, or a MirrOlure marshmallow rigged on a light jig head worked a little slower. And then offshore tuna at the floaters, whether when the weather allows, chunking bait, throwing poppers, large swim baits, and if the fish are blowing up on top, make sure you stick with those poppers. San Jacinto Bay. It took me a little bit to understand what I'm supposed to say.
Sorry, I'm cutting you off from now on, right before the show. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Now, there is something magical about the Baja Peninsula and its rugged beauty that keeps visitors coming back time and time again. Los Cabos, where the stunning desert landscape meets the incredibly blue waters of the Pacific Ocean and the seas of Cortez, offers up an endless vacation possibilities in one of the most striking, yes, relaxed locations in all of Mexico. There's no shortage of good food, good friends, and good times on any visit to Los Cabos. And for decades, anglers, vacationers, celebrities, they all have flocked to this idyllic landscape to fish in some of the world's richest waters, explore the vast desert beauty, or just unwind in the area's luxurious five-star resorts. No matter what your budget, a visit to Los Cabos fulfills all of your holiday dreams. And when the sun goes down, Cabo lights back up. You can enjoy fine dining in an intimate seaside location or dance the night away in some of the most eclectic nightclubs on the planet. The good times are just getting started after dark in Los Cabos. Now, to get a head start on planning your Los Cabos vacation this year, go to visitloscabos.travel.
All right.
Right? I'm ready to go. How about you?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. Coming up next, we're flying in your reports for the Upper Fresh region. So stick around to see where you can get hooked up. And remember, if you want to catch up with our crew and everything fishing in Texas, make sure to visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, watch us on YouTube, and check us out on Instagram. We'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, always in the game. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. CCA Star, fishing fun for giant prizes and scholarships. And Project Smokehouse, a link above.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO offshore.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left. There's no cycle.
When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Today's power pole tip of the week is about, does the power pole add a lot of weight to the transom of the boat? And simply, guys, it doesn't. Now we're talking about a bracket that weighs anywhere between 5 and 7 pounds, and depending on the model that you get, our micro is 7 with the blade, 10-foot blade, being 27 pounds. So simply, we're not gonna add a lot of weight. You're not gonna change the draft of the boat. You're not gonna have to re-prop your boat. And more importantly, the pumps have been mounted in the floor so that they're out of the way and not on the transom. So many times when we add weight to the boat, it affects the performance, and that's not gonna happen by adding 2 power poles. So if you have any questions whatsoever, you can either go online to powerpole.com or you can go down to your local dealer. And that's today's power pole tip of the week. So Jamie, you notice I put those power pole pumps in the far back of one of my compartments. It doesn't take up much room. Most of the time I can't reach back there anyway because it's so far back.
Right.
So it allows me to keep the weight in the back so that the boat doesn't get heavy in the console or further forward. It's the way to go. Make it go fast. I like to go fast.
I like to go fast. Well, you know, let's move on over to Lake Allen Henry and Caddo and Fork areas in the Yeti Upper Fresh region with Johnny Geis to tell us if those lines are still on fire this weekend. Johnny, what you got cooking?
Well, hey, this week we're doing on Texoma, and we're doing here on Fork. So let's get started on that. Okay, I got a great report this week from Captain Bill and Chris Carey up at Striper Express Report up there at Lake Texoma. And, man, that striper fishing continues to be excellent up there. They're catching stripers ranging from 2 pounds to 13 pounds. The lake level is 9 feet above normal, and the surface temperatures are cool, 79 degrees, starting to warm up here with this heat this week. Early mornings, though, at first light, these stripers are surfacing all over the lake. Stripers up to 13 pounds are busting up on shad on the surface almost every morning. Most of the top water fishing is in the flooded timber. Kind of gets hectic, real exciting on all the big blow-ups all around the boat, and it's kind of hard to get them out of the trees sometimes. It's also exciting for the guides as it is for the customers as they point out all these surfacing fish and they start dodging these big top water plugs being thrown to packs of hungry stripers. Nothing gets your blood boiling though like these old big hungry stripers smashing on top water lures. I gotta love that. After about an hour and a half of fish, Captain Bill says that stripers start to move on out to the deep water. They go out there and find them on the ledges next to the deep river channels. Sometimes they're in 75 foot of water, but suspended down about 30, 35 foot. You can use your electronics to find these huge schools of stripers out in the mid-lake area, and then you switch over to a slab, freshwater slab, you know, is a big old flat chunk of lead that weighs from about 1 to 3 ounces. You vertically jig the slabs, don't cast it far, drop it down, push a button, let her fall. It's called rippings, what they call it up there. It's silver color, white color, chartreuse and white, anything like that that resembles a shad's what you're looking for. Drop that slab down, keeping your thumb near the spoon in case you hit it on the fall. If the line stops falling, if your slab stops falling, you got one on. Most of those fish strike when you're cranking up, so if you really rip it up to the top, you'll have one on that way as well. Slab run is fast and furious. It lasts, he says, to about 10 or 11 o'clock. Windy days are better than the calm conditions. Within a bite gets over about as fast as it gets started. You'll be catching them 1 minute. Right after that, they're through. Lake seems to go on a siesta. Usually by this time, everybody's ready to go back to the marina and do the same. So while your guide's in there cleaning your catch, the cool breezes from the morning, they've disappeared, and the Texas heat sets in, so it's time to get some refreshments, lunch, and AC. And it's about a good example of what Texoma fishing is going on right now. The lake biologists say that the striper population this year on Texoma, it's an all-time high. 37% of the fish on the surveys and gill net surveys are off the charts, are the large fish, big fish. Not a better time to go fishing on Texoma than right now. Captain Chris says, come get you some of this. Captain Bill and Chris Carey thanks them for a great report tonight, sharing their picture of their best topwater striper this season. Take a look at this bad boy on the top water.
Whoa, that's a stud right there, Doc Boss.
That's a great one. Hey, let's go over and talk about these old, whatever you want to catch. That's what I call it. They're on fire on Fork, bass, crappie, and catfish. As this summertime heat sets in, so does predictable patterns. So almost weekly, rains have kept Lake Fork full of fresh water. And we've got about 7 inches of rain and 2 hard rains this week, so got a little bit of high water, but it's peeling off, and all species went on a major feeding frenzy this week. Start out by talking about some great channel catfish. Man, they're biting. Good friend and guide Bayou Dave Longry has been absolutely slaying the fat catfish, consistent limits of 25 fish per person. He baits several spots weekly with cattle cubes, range cubes we call them. And then he parks his pontoon boat right on top of the fish where he's baited his holes, drops his customers, they reach for the rods, they're already baited up with Dave's own stink bait, drops it straight down to the waiting catfish mob, and it's on. The action begins. Whether Dave has 2 people on the boat, on his pontoon boat, or 6, almost everyone catches a 25 fish limit of chunky cats in a few hours. Bayou Dave, man, he baits every hook. He takes off the fish and cleans every single one of the fish. So all the customer has to do is show up, get in the boat, and start catching fish. Can't beat that.
Don't forget to pay. Tell me about the crappie, bub.
Crappie continue to be the most sought-after species here at Lake Fork. Everyone seems to be catching some quality size right now. I got my new Garmin live scope in this week. We're mounting on the boat right now, and I can't wait to join that melee. Hey, you just got that Garmin on, and it will be turned a lot of crappie into my boat. Hey, that's about one of the best products come along in a long time. So I'm still also finding big schools of bass right now. They're continuing to move out deep structure. And my customers are about excited to catch these trophy bass on almost every trip as they can be. Fishing is excellent on Fork. And if you're flexible on species, there's no reason to go anywhere else unless you just get tired of catching fish. Hey, this picture, I got a couple here of Bayou Dave's trip. And good friends Rob and Suzette Horn, that's the size of the cats they're catching. And look what Rob caught on Bayou Dave's stink bait. Believe it or not, even a big 8-pound bass will bite that stuff.
All right, wow. Thanks, Johnny. We're gonna run out of time, so we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the upper fresh hot spots. He says Lake Texoma water is 9 foot high and rising. Stripers on the top water early and heavy slab spoons midday. Lake Fork, all species are biting great with the high water and hot temperatures. The bass are best on jigs and worms in the deep water. 9 feet high and rising. Sounds like a Johnny Cash song.
I think so. Now, if you're anxiously awaiting to hear about the flounder action in Paliseos and Oyster Lake, Captain Bink Grimes has all the pearls of wisdom we need in the Middle Coast region. So Bink, give us the deets.
Yeah, in Palacios, those upper reaches of the bay, like Tres Palacios Bay and Karankawa Bay, have been good along the shorelines, holding shell. Ray Sexton, he's been wading tight to those reefs and picking off solid trout early in the morning. For boaters, there's been a lot of birds working around Hotel and Palacios Point, but most have been undersized fish. Better fish have been found around Half Moon Reef, Coon Island, and the Barge. This week, guide Caleb Rush caught a 10.5-pound East Matagorda Bay trout, just a beauty. Lots of other big trout in the 7 to 8-pound range were caught and released while making long drifts over shell. Some of the better catches have come along the north shoreline on the incoming tide. With the ICW just a few casts away, that mud adjacent to canals are great spots for big trouts to fall on and off those shallows. Waders there in East Bay have used small topwaters like sheep ups to find fish on mid-bay reefs like Half Moon, Long Reef, and Three Beacon Reef. Then plugs were crushed by many 5-pounders and wading while wading, and then the guys throwing croakers, live fin fish have caught fish 7 to 8 pounds. Early morning topwater action has been great in Fort O'Connor. Later in the morning, captains have found trout in chest-deep water, around noon when it gets real hot on Bass Assassins and Mirror Little John. The surf was rough all week last week with low pressure. We've had a lot of rain here in Texas just the last 2 or 3 days, but what that's done, that's knocked our wind down, and we're looking in the next 7 days to have seas 1 to 2 feet. We're looking to get back in the surf again, and because we know there's a lot of big fish right there on the beach. Photos there is a picture of Captain Kim Marshall. He caught a 29-inch trout that he released right there in the first gut of the surf. Man, that's a beautiful, beautiful trout anywhere.
Yeah, it is. All right, tell me about the flounder, bub.
Flounder, man, they've been good in the bows and guts or on the south shoreline of West Matagorda Bay while wading with live shrimp. Best action's been in the morning, because those flounder pull up real tight to the shorelines at night. The giggers, they found the easy limits of flounders in Port O'Connor and West Matagorda Bay. Most of the fish have been off. If you find any little point with shell on it, those fish are lying right there. Muddy bottoms around Freeport and around the bayous close to San Luis Pass have been holding good numbers of flatfish as well. And then the same holds true in Rockport. The outside of Trailer Island has been good for easy limits. Redfish, Michael Roth has used his power pole on the north side of West Matagorda Bay in high winds. He's found good reds in Maverick Bow, Big Bow, Hidden Bow, and Zip Run Bow. They're catching one, about every 5 to 10 minutes. I mean, they're having to move around a whole lot. It hasn't been just great, but they're picking and pecking at them. The back lakes and oyster crab and horse trailer have been good, but this week our tides fell about 3 foot with all this north wind we've had from these storms, and so those back lakes are not going to be as profitable as they are when we've got real big tides. If you want the big bull red, a broken record every week, man. They're out there on the jetties, the Port O'Connor jetty, the Port Aransas jetty, the Matagorda jetty, the Freeport and Surfside jetty. They're there, and they're eating finger mullet. They're eating those big shrimp. Those big shrimp are on the beach. Our Gulf shrimp season opens back up July the 15th, and there's big old 9, 12, 6, 7 count big old Charlie shrimp out there on the front. That's what all those fish are chasing. Offshore triple tail, it's been tough lately just because you can't get out there. It's been, blowing 25 knots. But like I said, this weekend and through the weekend, the next 6 or 7 days are supposed to be really, really calm. And those offshore boys are going to get out there and get them. Those triple tail are hanging on the weed lines. Also Dorado as well. Red snapper over the rocks in 40 to 80 foot of water, up to 20 pounds. Our red snapper fishery is unbelievable.
All right.
And so.
Thank you, Big.
Looking forward to it.
Great report, Bub. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the CCA Texas hotspots from the Middle Coast region. He said trout are good in Tres Palacios Bay, around Coon Island, and the backside of Oyster Lake. Then redfish are good in Oyster Lake and Crab Lake on shrimp.
Well, right now we want to take a moment to highlight one of the many ways that CCA Texas reaches out to the recreational fishing community. Check out their podcast, Coastal Advocacy Adventures, the official CCA podcast. The easiest way to find it is through the CCA Texas website or searching for Coastal Advocacy Adventures on Google or any podcast hosting site. On the CCA's advocacy director, Shane Bono, discusses fishing strategies, conservation topics, legislative agendas, fishery news, and science with experts from across many fields. These podcasts are a great way to expand your knowledge on all things coastal. Give Coastal Advocacy Adventures a listen and you'll be hooked.
All right, check it out, guys.
Now, don't move, because coming up, we have your Middle Fresh Region Report. But before that, we need to catch up with Dave at the CCA Workbench to talk about some exciting new products that are coming in hot. Right,
if I fed myself this way, I'd be a lot skinnier, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. We'll be right back, guys.
I almost got it that time.
Stick around.
Get it, Dave. Come on, you can do it.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yeti, built for the wild. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a Miralure. Building Conservation Trust. CCA's National Habitat Program. And StarTron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems.
At the pinnacle of super high output, 4-stroke outboard performance, you'll find Yamaha VMAX SHO. Yamaha's game-changing SHO technology. From exhilarating V6 models to the sleek inline 4s, there's a VMAX SHO for everything from bass to bonefish. It's an extended family of 4-strokes engineered for lightweight, inspiring performance, and rock-solid reliability. Discover VMAX SHO and elevate your expectations.
Oh, there it is.
You can either stay busy fishing or get busy catching. From Texas to Tampa Bay or Key West to the Carolinas and beyond. For nearly 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites. Ask for Fish Bites and Fish Bites Fight Club lures by name or visit fishbites.com.
Over 40 years ago, Mr. Proshek began smoking meat in a little Texas town called Hilgi, combining fresh, grade A ingredients to create a variety of legendary smoked meats. Today, Proshek's Smokehouse is a Texas tradition, and now Proshek's not only satisfies hunger in Texas, but across the country. Visit Prosheks.com and order everything from fresh meats to your choice of jerky. Proshek's meats are made by Prosheks, sold by Prosheks, and can be delivered in as little as a day. Proshek's Smokehouse, a link above.
So guys, check out what Starbright has sent me. It's called Salt Off. And the reason why I like it is anything that potentially has the ability to corrode, any metal products, I'm gonna spray with Salt Off. And it's really simple how it works. I'm just gonna spray it on any metal parts, the parts on the reels that are actually moving. I like spraying it where the guides and the threads meet, because that's where corrosion has a tendency to break down the threads on the guides. I'm gonna leave it on there for 10 minutes. I throw all my power pole fittings, spraying it on my buckle, all on the trailer. Look at the fenders here. We leave it on there for 10 minutes. Also, the cool part about this stuff is it gives you, after you rinse it off and let it dry, it creates a protective barrier against corrosion. They also have a salt-off concentrated engine kit, or you can use it for spraying down your trailer at the end of the day. Comes with this canister as well as this adapter to go on your engine flush mount. And all I gotta do is screw this in. I don't even have to run the engine, but what I'm doing is I'm flushing out the engine using this concentrate, and I'm actually treating the inside of all the moving metal parts. Look at this stuff is coming out on the concrete there, and you can see that it's actually treating the inside of my motor. Again, it's so easy to use, it's salt off, and you just simply spray it on there, wait 10 minutes, rinse it off, and just naturally let it dry. Remember, Starbright creates a whole bunch of products that's made specifically for boat maintenance. So, your next consideration, check out Starbright stuff. So Dave, there you got it. We had a new product with our Starbright tonight, but
very
guess
good
what?
stuff.
Check it out here at the CCA Workbench. We going at it.
Yep. Well, right off the bat, Smith's has started making. They've been making sharpening stuff and knives for, well, I don't know, since 1886 or something, and they've come out with a new series of saltwater fishing knives, and this is the 9-inch fillet Lawaya. That's how you say it, Lawaya.
Lawaya.
Yep, and they have a little 6-inch, actually a 7-inch here as well for the same fillet knives. Very flexible. They have really good handles on them. Nice, good grip. They have this Xylon coating on the stainless steel blade, which is very smooth and anti-corrosive. So, stainless steel plus that stuff, they can last a long time if you take just a modicum of care. This is the bait breaker, which is always good to have a good bait knife, especially if you're a mate, on your hip. Can do a lot of things, can get you out of trouble, and it can also fix a bait, if it's having a problem with a bait. That's a good cutter, a line cutter right there.
Absolutely. So you accidentally get yanked over, Dave. All you got to do is just touch the line there.
Correct.
And at least you're surviving.
Right. And then all these come with a limited lifetime warranty and a nice little lanyard, and plus they all have a little nice little sheath to put them in, hard plastic sheath to allow for draining and whatnot. Smith's, go to Smith's and check them out. They're all everywhere.
So what's next?
Now we got some Costa hats. Costa's getting into the apparel business really hard and pushing these really good. They're really nice hats they have. These are the 5-panel foam front hats. That one there is called the Cutler Trucker. A lot of these have a lot of the retro styling I remember from the late 70s, early 80s style. But also we have something like this with the Real Tree camo on it. And then, again, going back to the retro, we've got the Baja stripe.
Dang.
That's me, man. In 78, 79, that was wearing that kind of stuff all the time. That's the mossy oak, the blue mossy oak, and the Stealth Dorado is next. All these are one size fits all. They have the plastic in the back. You can make them tight if you need to. 5-panel again, like I said, and breathable. So get these Costas.
The producer's singing in my ear, so I want that one. I want that one. I want that
they're
one.
very nice.
She got to go fishing first.
I know what you mean. All right, next we got some mirror lure. These are suspending twitch baits. We've got the Catch 5 and the Mirrodine. Both of these are really great baits. The Mirrodine has been famous. They had the sinking one, and now they've got the shallow water suspending twitch. And the Catch 5, just a little thicker profile. Both of these baits are great in shallow water. They'll sink down 12 inches, 10 to 12 inches, and you can just twitch them along.
And
certainly
when the pogies are around, this is the go-to.
Correct. They are pogie imitators.
Same silhouette.
Yep. So get your get your mirror lures.
We got this from TH Marine.
TH Marine. This is the G-Force conservation cull system. What this does, it allows you to cull out fish if you're fishing in a tournament, a bass tournament, or redfish tournament. You want to make sure that you have the heaviest ones in the boat. And what you do is every time you catch a fish, you put one of these on his lip, and that'll tell you which fish that is. And when you catch another one, you can put one on his lip, and you can see out which one's heavier and get rid of the smaller ones.
So you're not messing with digital scales and taking the fish off. This
is foolproof. There is no, you don't have to, if he's heavier than the other one when you put him on the balancing scale. These have really nice Delrin plastic hooks on them, made with the stainless steel spring.
Pinches lip.
So it pinches his lip, won't hurt him. And you can remove all these as well. You can remove the little bobbles on here, and actually they'll all store. They come with a little rack that stores all 6 of them. It comes with 6 different colored ones.
Great for the bass guys and the redfish
Correct.
guys.
If you're going to be fishing in a tournament, for sure you want to get one of these. thmarine.com.
Dave, we got it all in. All right, Jamie, speaking of getting it in, come on, we got to go.
Well, I'm just letting you guys know I'm going to need one of each one of those things. So I'm already making my Christmas list. Yeah, I may have to fight our producer, but that's okay.
Christmas in June, baby.
That's right. Now, last but not least, Matt Loescher is on the line to give us the latest in the Startron Middle Fresh region. So, Matt, last week you told us that to fish the points and the humps close to the flats, around 15 to 20 feet of water. Can we expect the same thing this weekend?
Well, it's a similar deal, especially on Toledo Bend. I'm going to start out real quick talking about the largemouth bass at Sam Rayburn. Right now, they're still being caught really shallow. You know, even with the higher summertime temperatures, the high water level over there is keeping a lot of those fish in the shallow cover. Hay grass and bushes are the 2 types of cover you're going to want to target right now. Fishing a Bass Assassin Fat Job in a watermelon red color is a great way to get a lot of bites all throughout the day around those 2 types of cover. You can fish it on a lightweight Texas rig, or if the wind is calm, you can even fish it weightless. That's another good option. Swim bait, like the Bass Assassin Die Dapper, is a really good choice as well, especially early in the morning. Reeling it over the top of that hay grass, you get some really aggressive strikes on that. And then a frog has been getting some action as well. The better bite over there is early in the morning, so get out there before the sunrise, kind of beat the heat and make the most out of the early morning catching. And then over at Toledo Bend, kind of like what you said, the bass bites been out on the ledges and humps in about 10 to 20 foot of water. Worm and a crankbait are the baits of choice right now over here. A Bass Assassin tap-out worm is a great option for this type of fishing. I like to take that tap-out worm and rig it on a shaky head and just slowly drag it to kind of entice those bites from those big finicky summertime bass that really don't want to bite as well right now. Junebug and redbug are the go-to colors for that worm on this lake. They just always work day in, day out. Timing is everything, though. So you're going to want to experiment with different spots at different times throughout the day to kind of figure out when a specific school of fish is setting up to feed. And a little tip for catching them better as we get later into the summer is to try to really keep your noise level down and sneak up on these bass, because they've been beat on all spring and all through the early summer already. So they're a little more finicky now. And especially on those really calm days, they can get a little boat shy. So instead of graphing back and forth over and over on a place looking for the fish with your electronics before you cast, oftentimes it's better to just shut down a little further out from a spot and just troll up to it and start casting to find them. You'll be surprised how much better the fish will bite when you sneak up on them like that. And then lastly, on the largemouth, at Richland Chambers, the water level is still high and stained about 79 to 87 degrees. The bites slowed down a bit up there, but Mr. Thurman Selman's still catching some on topwater baits early in the morning, and then switching to a Texas rig creature bait, a jig, or a Carolina rig later in the day. And then deep diving crankbaits are also producing some fish on those offshore points and humps. Now next, I'm going to talk about the white bass. That action is really hot on Lake Livingston. I'm seeing reports of 100 fish plus days down there right now, and they're getting some nice sized hybrids mixed in with the white bass as well. Spoons are always the #1 choice for catching these fish, but you may even find some topwater action on a slug if you get out there really early in the morning or really late in the evening. White bass are also biting really well on Toledo Bend, especially early morning and late in the afternoon. The jig and spoon is also the staple there, but we also catch a lot of them on live minnows, especially throughout the middle of the day when they're not as aggressive. And there's a lot of yellow bass mixed in with those whites on Toledo Bend, so it's kind of a 2-for-1 deal when you find those. And I've got a picture for you of a really good white bass catch I had with the LeBlanc family recently. You can see there we loaded the boat with those things really quick one morning. It was a lot of fun. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about the crappie. They're biting really well on Toledo Bend and on Sam Rayburn in 15 to 25 foot of water. They're on deep timber and on dock. Live minnows have been the ticket for catching them this week. The jig bite hasn't been quite as good, so the live minnows have been the better deal. And the timing of the bite varies just a little bit every day, but if you stick with it throughout the day, you'll hit the right place at the right time and light them up. And to finish out, I got another photo here for you. Two ladies holding up some real nice Toledo Bend flabs.
All right, thanks so much, Matt. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Riddle Fresh hotspots. He says largemouth bass are shallow at Sam Rayburn around the grass and the bushes. At Toledo Bend and Richland Chambers, they're offshore biting various baits. White bass are hot in Lake Livingston and Toledo Bend, and then on spoons and minnows. And then crappie are biting at Sam Rayburn on Toledo Bend at 15 to 25 feet of water. Well, you did it.
I did it.
Slammed it.
I got one in the books.
Yeah, you got
and I also have a hat.
You do. Hey, we appreciate you very, very much. Tell your husband to call me. I'll give you a personal reference about talking about fishing, and we're going to have to go fishing to sign off on you.
Sounds good.
I think we should go to Casa Vieja.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Thanks
Send
so
Jamie
much.
an email. Let her know.